Today I've got the Nextorch TA30C. I've done some Nextorch reviews before, but I would say the user interface on this light is different than almost any other light that I've reviewed. This light, I would say, has some innovations in the user interface that we will talk about, so that makes this light really kind of interesting. Getting some of the basics out of the way first, this light can either come with the battery for $115. It has a rechargeable 2600 milliamp hour 18650 battery, or if you want to supply your own battery because, like me, you have a ton of 18650s around the house, you can get it for $95. This puts out 1600 lumens, which by a lot of today's light standards is not that much because a lot of them are putting upwards of 3000 lumens, but this light, even at only 1600, because it has a deep, smooth reflector there, is a thrower. And they say this light will throw 300 meters. Again, useful distance, I usually just change the unit, so meters becomes feet, 300 feet. But I would say, and we'll take this outside and have a look at it, because of that reflector there, this is definitely a thrower. Some other stuff about the construction of this light, as long as we are up in front there, you can see that it's got a strike bezel. And on there are those little bees, and you can use that for glass breaking. However, my usual caveat implies if you're going to use this to break a window, by golly, wear some gloves, because from having been on the having to repair your hand end of what you've put through the glass, I don't enjoy it, you won't enjoy it, so wear some gloves or just don't hit the window with this, but in a pinch, you can use this to strike a window or a person because of the way that bezel is constructed. The size of this, it's really not that big. It's kind of hand size, and I've carried this around in my pocket, and as much as I usually carry much smaller lights around, this light is actually not that bad carrying around your pocket. It's sizable compared to carrying some super small lights, but the size of it is fairly thin, and it has a head that gets a little bit bigger there, but again, not hateful when you're carrying it. Now to get into the rest of the construction of this light, there's a tail button here, and the tail button is the only button, no side button on this light because this is a tactical light. The user interface on this, as I mentioned, is interesting. There's a rotating cap back here, and from off, you can see on the side here, it gives an idea of, there's the dot here and what you're going to rotate it to: off, low, medium, high. However, from off, you have access to high and turbo by half pressing it for high and full pressing it for turbo. So from any mode, you can get to those. To get to the other modes, you just rotate this around. So there it is on low, and then medium, and then high. From low, it'll go either to high with a half press or the strobe with a full press. So from any mode, because again, this is a tactical light, any mode you're searching through something, it's low. Oh, there's a person. Let me shine the bright light on them. Now, I will say that in the heat of the moment, when your adrenaline is going, yes, I can plan to press it just halfway to get to that high, and it's a focus high for searching for people, but in the moment, are you gonna mash on that button and go into the strobe? That is certainly possible if you're in a kind of a tense moment there. So as we're talking on the back here, the tail button will light up briefly for about 2 seconds after the light turns off to give you an idea of the charge status. And I'll put on the screen there the different charge statuses of what that tail button shows. That gives you an idea of when you need to recharge it. Speaking of recharging it, we'll take the tail cap off here, and inside is that 2600 milliamp hour 18650 battery. And this is USB-C chargeable right there on the battery. And as it's charging, there's a light on the front that lights up red, and when it's fully charged, that light changes to green so that you know it's fully charged. Also of note of what I experienced from this light, if the battery charge is down, I'm not sure how much, I've read below 75%, you don't get the full brightness out of this light. I've not, I think, fully tested that, but when I first got the light, I was not that amazed how bright it was, and then I charged the battery, and the light got a lot brighter. So I think there is some truth to that. Now, while the back is off here, let's just talk about a few other things. There's the pocket clip. Now, the pocket clip is, of course, removable. It's a fairly small pocket clip, but there's a notch right there that pocket clip will sit down into. So you put that on there, and the pocket clip that then gets locked right in that little notch. Now, some other things that you can get with this light is that for $10, you can get the FR1 tactical ring clip. And this also has a spot where it will mount, because there are notches right here on the side of it, and those notches go right over that pocket clip. So you put that right on here, that locks it in place, and then you put the tail cap back on. Now you can hold this like this, so if you're doing some work and you want to get your light out of the way to work with your hands, and then you want to flip it back in, it gives you a much more stable way to grip this light. Also, this acts as a bit of a brass knuckle or a plastic knuckle, as the were, and you can use this to punch someone or something, and that is hard, firm plastic. Now you could grip this either here with the index finger. I prefer that. Or if you prefer the middle finger in there, you could do that, and there's a spot for your index finger to rest up here, or perhaps back here, but I'm gonna vote up here. But if you put your middle finger in there, it's a little harder to flip it out of the way to get it to where it's, you know, you can use your hand, you can put it there. It just is a little harder to, because your other fingers are in the way, to get it out there. Now, if you're gonna get that, this also can act as a pocket clip, because this will open up here, and it's nice and smooth under there, so that will go into your pants like that with a big clip there. Alternatively, if you're gonna carry this, this is admittedly a little bit big sticking out of your pocket, they also make a holster that was actually designed by one of their customers. And they have a couple different holster options. This is the V31 holster, and this is pretty stout holster. And on the back here, this opens up, this flips up here. There's this piece right here that can slide up and down to mount it on different size belts. 1 inch up to probably 2 inches. That just slides up there. And that way when you're sliding your belt through here when it's on, it's gonna hold it firmly in place there. And then you clip it back down, and that now locks it there on your belt. Now it comes with it straight up and down. However, this is also adjustable. You pull up this piece right here, and this then will pull out, and you can rotate it. So if you wanted to carry it at an angle on your belt, you could do that, or straight up, and then you push this lock back down, and it now can't pull out. So really nice design holster. And then when the light goes in here, it goes down in, and then it can lock in place by just simply pushing this over to the side, and now that ring is locked in place by that side piece, so it's not going to come out. And then to get it out, you just rotate it around and up and out. So it is admittedly a bit of a bulky holster, so if you're EDCing this light, this is probably going to be big for you, but if you're putting this on, say, your duty belt, this is going to be a great option because it keeps it out away from your body some and easily accessible. It's not in a pocket, and if you're going to have this ring on it, then I think this is a really nice option. And this holster is $18.65, and I'll put links to all of these down below. Also, if maybe you're out in the woods, again, if you're not going to the mall, if you're going to the mall, this is probably kind of a big holster for you. But if you're out somewhere in the woods or things like that, then I think this is a nice option if you're not in law enforcement and carrying this on a duty belt or something similar. Now, if you don't want to use that 18650 battery to charge it, it also comes with a sleeve, and you can put this inside and put 2 CR123s in there. A few other things it comes with a USB-A to USB-C cable for charging that included battery, and then some extra O-rings and the instruction manual. As much as I would probably not carry it like this, I really do like this ring here because it just makes it so easy to grasp onto. And if you're using this in a shooting kind of way, as a weapon light, you've got this to hold on to, and you know, if you want to get out of the way or you just want to mount it right there, it's very easy. You don't have to worry about getting some weird grip or holding on to it weird. This is ideal for that, and because this is a thrower, it's going to be nice for doing building searches using it as a tactical light. The outputs on it, 20 lumens for 50 hours, 330 lumens for 4 hours and 30 minutes, and that high of 1600 lumens for 2 hours and 30 minutes. Really a long time on that. The head is going to start to get warm, but the battery on this does have a long output, and you're probably not going to need the high for that long anyway. But I really find the user interface interesting that from any mode you can get into the bright or the strobe. And so this really does have a true tactical sense of a light. And so I really like this user interface compared to, well, a lot of user interfaces. My only critique, my only thing I might change on the user interface is maybe somehow have the dial so that, I'm not sure how this would work, but so that when you fully mashed it, it went into the high or turbo, as opposed to fully mashing it and going into the strobe. I'm not sure how they might engineer that. I don't know how many times people are using the strobe. Put some notes in the comments and tell me how often you're using a strobe. I bet people don't use the strobe all that often. So I bet having this just go to high when you fully mash it would be just as well for most people, and that's really what I would prefer if I had to critique the user interface. The pocket clip by itself, if you're using this as a regular clip without the ring on it, is also pretty nice, and there's no underclip issues because it's nice and smooth under there. And also, it's not a cheap light at $95 or $115. If you're like me, I have a bunch of 18650s sitting around the house, so I could pay the $95 price and just get the light by itself. But I really like it for a lot of reasons. It's a nice compact size. It's comfortable in your pocket. I like the user interface with the slight caveat that I would like the button press full to be turbo or high as opposed to strobe, because again, in the moment the adrenaline's going, you might go into that strobe when you don't intend to. But anyway, there's my thoughts. The Nextorch TA30C. I recommend checking it out. Some links down below, of course, as always.